All right, this terrifying true story comes from model and creator Jupitar Lee. You can find her on YT and also on that platform that rhymes with Stitch. But without the further ado, when I was around 13 or 14, I was obsessed with anything paranormal. Horror movies, witchcraft, ghosts, you name it. My best friend Chrissy was the same way. We used to go to little witchcraft stores together and buy herbs, crystals, and random things for spells. We'd try spells at home, watch horror movies, and pretty often play with the Ouija board. The thing was, I never knew if I actually believed in the Ouija board. Whenever we played with a group of friends, there was always that thought in the back of my head, someone is moving this effing thing. I wanted it to be real because I was fascinated by that stuff, but I could never completely trust what was happening. Then, one Friday night, Chrissy and I decided to play with just the two of us. Chrissy was one of my best friends, so if there was anyone I trusted not to mess with me, it was her. That night, we supposedly contacted the spirit of a young girl. Her name was Jen. My name is also Jen. Immediately, I remember thinking, of course her freaking name is Jen. That's so stupid. That actually made me less convinced. But we kept talking to her anyway. I don't remember every detail because this happened so long ago, but she told us she was young and that she had passed away in a car accident. She wasn't scary or threatening. We actually enjoyed talking to her. We stayed on the board for hours. Eventually, we basically told her, okay, we're going to bed. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And we did. The next day was Saturday, and Chrissy came to my house. It was the middle of the day, probably around noon, and we were sitting outside on my sidewalk with the Ouija board. My younger brother came outside and sat with us. He was probably around 11. Of course, he didn't believe any of it. He kept telling us, you guys are moving it. Chrissy and I knew neither of us was moving it, so I got an idea. I said basically, okay, Jen, do something. Show him that you're actually here. The board twitched, not the planchette, the actual board. It made this little movement underneath our hands. My brother still wasn't impressed. So we asked her to do something bigger. And I swear to God, the entire Ouija board spun around in a complete circle. That was the moment things changed for me. Up until then, I could explain away the planchette. Maybe Chrissy was moving it without realizing it. Maybe I was moving it subconsciously. Maybe we were both influencing it somehow. But watching the actual board spin around, I didn't know how to explain that. Even my brother's reaction changed. He was basically like, oh, snap. Since Jen had told us she was around my brother's age, we jokingly asked if she thought he was cute. She said yes. So naturally, being stupid kids, we said, then give him a kiss. My brother suddenly said his cheek felt cold. Could that part have been in his head? Absolutely. He had just watched the board spin around and was probably freaked out. But what happened next was harder for me to explain, because I did something incredibly stupid. I invited her into my house. I literally walked through my front door carrying the Ouija board and said something along the lines of, okay, you're invited into my house. Show us you're here. In our living room, we had this old couch. It was one of those couches where the springs would creak whenever somebody leaned back or shifted their weight. We asked Jen to give us a sign. We watched part of the couch indent slightly. Then the springs started creaking. It looked and sounded like someone small had just sat down. We walked over and touched the spot. It was freezing cold. At that point, this wasn't fun anymore. I remember thinking, What the F did I just invite into my house? Still, we kept talking to her. That night, Chrissy slept over at my house. We eventually said goodnight to Jen and stopped using the board. Then Sunday came. We played again during the day, but this time we had to tell her something. We had school the next morning. We can't talk to you tomorrow. Her entire personality seemed to change. The planchette started moving differently. It was much faster and almost aggressive, like someone moving it out of frustration. Then she started threatening us. She told us something bad was going to happen if we didn't talk to her. Normally, I probably would have laughed that off, but after what we'd watched happen the day before, we were terrified. We decided we wanted the board out of my house immediately. Chrissy called her older sister, who was around 18 at the time, and asked her to come pick it up. Her sister happened to be nearby, so she drove over. She parked outside my house, got out of the car, walked up my sidewalk, and we handed her the Ouija board. We were basically begging her, take this thing home, burn it, throw it away. We don't care, just get it out of here. She thought we were being ridiculous. She said something like, I don't understand why you guys are so doggone scared. Then she took the board from us. The second that Ouija board touched her hands, the stereo inside her car suddenly blasted at full volume. Nobody was inside the car. The music stayed insanely loud for maybe 3 seconds, then it went right back down. Her sister just stared at us. Then she started saying, I don't want this effing thing. I don't want this effing thing. Now she too was terrified. But Chrissy and I were young and scared, so we basically told her, sorry, you're stuck with it now. She threw it in her trunk and left. That night, Chrissy's family burned the Ouija board. Years later, I heard that apparently you're not supposed to do that. I have no idea if there's any truth to that, and at the time, we definitely didn't know. After middle school, Chrissy and I went to different high schools. Like a lot of childhood friendships, we eventually lost touch. Years later, I found out that Chrissy passed away. I went to her funeral. She had passed in a car accident. And I've never forgotten what Jen told us all those years before. She was a young girl. Her name was Jen. And she told us she had passed in a car accident. I'm not telling this story because I expect anyone to believe that we actually contacted a ghost. I still don't know what I believe. Some of it could have been coincidence. Some of it could have completely normal explanations. And some of it might have been a bunch of terrified kids getting inside their own heads. But I know what I saw that weekend. I know what happened when Chrissy's sister took that board. And knowing how Chrissy's story eventually turned out has always made the whole thing feel incredibly darker when I look back on it. So now I'm curious, has anyone else here ever had a Ouija board and had something happen that you genuinely couldn't explain? Whether you believe it was paranormal or not, I want to hear your stories. Wow, thank you, Jen. That was terrifying. I've read and heard countless stories that begin like this. You know, people playing with spirit boards as a joke or as a prank. They don't take them serious. But there's definitely something going on with these things, and I would definitely would not recommend just toying around with them. That would be my advice, of course. You know, some people swear by them, but I would just say it's better to leave them be and just not unnecessarily invite things into your life. But that's been Jay's Haunted Appalachia for tonight. Keep sending me your stories and suggestions, guys, and keep Appalachia haunted, y'all.